This is all about Bitcoin, a show dedicated to all things questions and markets related to Bitcoin, little b for the currency, and Bitcoin, big B for the network. A collective journey to understand, apply, and use this innovation. All Bitcoin, all the time. I'm your host, Christine Lee. Let's have a live look at Bitcoin right now. The Coindesk Bitcoin price XBX index is in retreat. A lot of profit taking happening, down 3.5% over the past 24 hours. Now trading at $60,540. Let's take a look at the chart of the day.
The chart of the day is brought to you by Crypto.com, the world's fastest growing crypto app.
The Chicago Mercantile Exchange replacing Binance as the world's biggest Bitcoin futures platform, thanks to strong investor appetite for the recently launched ProShares Bitcoin Strategy ETF. The CME accounts for 22% or so, or 5.68 billion of the total global futures open interest of about 26 billion out there, while Binance is contributing on that second slot there, 5.66 billion to the worldwide tally. The amount of money locked in CME-based futures contracts has tripled this month, with more than $1.5 billion flowing into the market after ProShares' Bitcoin ETF went live on Tuesday. In fact, ProShares' fund appears to be close to hitting the contract ownership limit set by the CME for a single entity, which also caps overall positions across different maturities. But with the introduction of Valkyrie Investments Bitcoin Futures ETF on the NASDAQ today, as well as other Bitcoin Futures ETFs in the pipeline, the situation is expected to ease. Joining me now to discuss BTC price and other Bitcoin news is our Week in Review panel, Coindesk Managing Editor of Technology, Christie Harkin in Toronto, and Managing Editor of Markets, Brad Keoun in Austin. Hello, Brad and Christie.
Hello.
Hey, Christine. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. What a week we've had. A new all-time high in Bitcoin that hit $66,975 or so dollars. A Bitcoin futures ETF, a first after years of rejection by multiple investment firms and asset managers. But Brad, a Bitcoin futures ETF is not exactly the greatest investment, is it? But perhaps for some types of investors, it's the only way to gain exposure to Bitcoin.
I mean, I think people in crypto are really focused on this and, what is a Bitcoin ETF versus what is a Bitcoin spot ETF versus what is a Bitcoin futures ETF. And I think, honestly, a lot of people just don't care. They just want some exposure to Bitcoin. I mean, here's, this thing that's like gone up double in price this year. It's just emerged over the past couple of years to be one of the world's biggest asset classes. It just passed silver this week. Bitcoin, it's two times, actually, past silver. But at any rate, overall crypto market is 2 times silver. And people just want in, and the mechanics of these things, if you don't, there's crypto people who know how to buy Bitcoin. Know how to buy Bitcoin derivatives in many cases in sort of crypto native markets. But, a lot of people still are just good old fashioned stock investors and they just want to ape into Bitcoin. And for them, it seems like an okay option. There's going to be some tracking here for sure.
The significance of the moment, Brad, all-time high, the first Bitcoin related ETF in the United States and such, and also why perhaps we're seeing a bit of a pullback in the crypto markets right now.
Yeah, I mean, the big picture here is, here's this fast growing industry called crypto, and it is like theoretically, plausibly creating a new financial system, a new economy. And it's essentially reaching its hand into that old traditional market and taking money out of that. That is kind of what's going on here with just taking money from stock market investors to put into Bitcoin. And the industry has been trying for this for a long time. And they finally got it. They didn't get, to your point, Christine, they didn't get the Bitcoin spot ETF that a lot of them wanted. But this might be the camel's nose under the tent. I mean, a lot of people think that this might just be a first step towards eventually approving a spot ETF. So Pretty
And the
interesting.
contenders are already waiting in line for a spot ETF in the US. GBTC, which manages $40 billion, holds about 3.4% of all Bitcoin in circulation. They're looking to convert their fund into a spot ETF. And just a reminder to folks out there, Grayscale is a sister company of Coindesk. And if Canada is any indication, Bitcoin futures just scratched the surface. There is a far larger demand for a spot ETF, a purpose Bitcoin ETF, 3IQ, CoinShares ETF, both over $1 billion, CI Galaxy 337 million. Bitcoin futures, just that red dot there, Horizon Beta Pro Bitcoin ETF has about $7.6 million. Christie, so if any of this is any indication, and your team had a role in putting out this chart and this the article accompanying it, I mean, the demand for a spot Bitcoin is just way larger than a futures ETF.
Yeah, and we can see just from looking at that chart what the potential is should anything ever head towards spot ETFs in the US. And it's not just Canada. There are other countries that have really embraced the spot ETF over the futures ETF. So like in Brazil, in Switzerland, and everyone seems to really be more, I mean, given the option between the futures or spot, they're headed for the spot.
Absolutely. Just talking more a bit about mass adoption, Walmart announced it, well, they didn't announce, rather quietly, you can go to Walmart and find a Bitcoin ATM there. What can you tell us about that, Christie?
Yeah. So believe it or not, yes, you can now go to Walmart and purchase cryptocurrencies at COINSTAR machines inside right inside the big box stores. There are 200 COINSTAR kiosks located inside Walmart stores across the US that are part of a pilot program. Now, you may already, if you're in the US, be familiar with COINSTAR. These are those kiosks where you can put a bunch of coins in and get change your coins for more usable money other than the big rattling change around in your cookie jar. So what you'll do is you can put in your coins and you get a paper voucher, and then you need to set up a CoinMe account. And CoinMe is the crypto background to the CoinStar machines. And you go through some KYC, know your customer checks before you can redeem your voucher. There's a bit of a fee involved, so 4% fee for the Bitcoin option plus a 7% cash exchange. But this is a way that people can, throw some spare change into a machine and get some Bitcoin for it. It's a great way to get started, and it's pretty easy. And they've added Bitcoin buying services with CoinMe since 2019, really. There's something like 300 machines at various Winn-Dixie, Fresco, Emass, Harvey's, and other grocery stores across Florida already. So this pilot program is expanding.
I mean, the mass adoption and the scale is incredible. Yeah. Taking a look at crypto Twitter, it is a buzz with this Jonas Schnelli tweet. He's stepping down as a Bitcoin core maintainer and contributor. He's saying here that you may ask, why step down now? What happened? Sometimes interests shift and you can't do much about it. On top, I feel that the legal risks for Bitcoin developers are increasing year by year, which can be stressful. New contributors should join anonymously. It's tricky. Christie, what is his background and what are the legal risks he's hinting at here?
Well, I just really I'd like to use a couple of seconds here just to give a shout out to Jonas, who has done some tremendous work for Bitcoin over the past, since 2013, he's been involved. His 516, probably more than that now, commits over the last 7 years, 8 years, make him the 9th most active developer on the Bitcoin core code. Along with his work on Bitcoin source code, he's created a code library for creating Bitcoin applications in the C coding language, helped design the Bitbox hardware wallet. In January of this year, Marathon Patent Group chose him as a developer grant worth $96,000 payable in Bitcoin. And at that time, he told Coindesk that he was working on a version of BIP 324, Bitcoin Improvement Proposal 324, for encrypted peer-to-peer messaging between Bitcoin nodes, which is fantastic for privacy, along with proposing a simplified payment verification mode for Bitcoin Core and working on Bitcoin Core CI scripts. I mean, the guy has done a lot of work for Bitcoin, and hats off and thanks for your hard work. Jonas, should you see this? So what are some of the legal ramifications? Well, even earlier this year, we saw Craig Wright, for example, going after Bitcoin.org and Cobra, the developer or maintainer of the Bitcoin.org website, claiming cryptocurrency copyright claims and trying to sue developers for hosting the Bitcoin website on their site. And that's a legal headache that they don't need and should not have to deal with. And having to fend off that kind of nonsense, it's stressful, and it takes time away from the important work.
Right. I did see Calvin Ayre trolling some of the tweets there. Also, I saw another tweet. I'll bring up Nicholas Dorier. He's responding to Schnelli saying, how to tell you will contribute anonymously without telling you will contribute anonymously. So some folks out there speculate that perhaps he might have some sort of role in Bitcoin's future, nevertheless. Also, Jack Dorsey keeping an eye on things, tweeting 100%, the 100% emoji to VC Stephen Cole, who's urging would-be Bitcoin Core contributors to consider doing so anonymously, make protocol development even more resilient to legal and social attacks. All right,
absolutely.
Let's take a look at next week. So, Brad, you alluded to this. There's huge investment in the crypto space. The crypto market cap exceeds $2.5 trillion today. A few days ago, it was $2.7 trillion. Total locked value in DeFi is over $100 billion. FTX, crypto exchange now based in the Bahamas, is raising $420 million in addition to the $900 million they raised over the summer. Bitcoin miners such as Hut 8, Bit Mining, and Greenedge Generation are acquiring assets, building data centers, increasing hash power. 5 Wall Street firms, including Jefferies and Barclays, are initiating research coverage of Argo blockchain with buy ratings. So Bitcoin looks pretty bullish to me, Brad. So is the spike that we saw from the initial ETF fervor, will that just take some time to take a breather or two? What do you see going forward in price for Bitcoin?
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things that's important to point out is leading up into this event, there was quite a bit of speculation that this could be what they call a buy the rumor, sell the fact event, where, similar to what happened when Coinbase had its IPO in April, that ended up being the all-time high for Bitcoin that same day. And people thought, here's another event that people are looking forward to in the market, very hotly anticipated, and that we might see a sell-off. Interestingly, that ETF went live on Tuesday, and then it was really the next day we hit the all-time high. So I think that probably was maybe a little more bullish in some ways than if it had hit the high on the same day, because it kind of tempered that buy the rumor, sell the fact theory. Of course, the past couple of days we are selling off. Even today we have this Valkyrie ETF launch, and that's not doing a whole lot for the price. And then, we do have another launch on Monday, the Van Eck ETF, another one coming out, another futures, Bitcoin futures ETF. But yeah, to your point, Christine, people are still seeing quite a bit of bullish sentiment. The charts are still looking pretty bullish. There have been some signals that we have a little pullback here, but It's still looking up. I mean, like we could definitely see a new all-time high next week. We're not that far away from it. And if we go there, again, we could be in uncharted territory again. We could see 70,000. But yeah, people are saying this 61,000 zone where we are, it could be a crucial pivot. If we go below 60, we could see a deeper sell-off. So it'll be interesting to see what the weekend brings.
Mm-hmm. And I believe I read, Coindesk's Amkar Gaboli predicted, indicators projecting that potentially $80,000 Bitcoin soon. Christie, closing us out. I also saw that a multi-billion-dollar rehabilitation plan for users affected by the demise of the first Bitcoin exchange, KIOSKS, has been approved. I don't know if you have also been reading on that, or what else are you looking ahead for?
Looking ahead, we'll be finally getting it finalized exactly 1 month from Wednesday. So yes, this week, rehabilitation trustee Nobuyuki Kobayashi issued a statement acknowledging that the plan to reimburse victims has been accepted by the required number of voting participants. This is big. Everybody needed to vote, and a lot of people did. And so the motion has passed. It was many years in the making, months in the negotiating, and months in the voting process. So creditors were able to vote on the proposal between May 31st and October 8th, and at least 50% of eligible voting shares had to be cast in favor of the proposal for it to pass. Apparently, approximately 99% of the voting rehabilitation creditors voted for the draft rehabilitation plan, and 83% of the total amount of voting rights was exercised in favor of the plan. So it was an overwhelming success. They will finalize it at a meeting on November 20th. And after that date, creditors will be able to finally start submitting their banking and their wallet information and start getting reimbursed. It will be partial reimbursement. There's a whole formula that goes into it, but yeah, it's, 10%-ish, 10 to 20%, depending on the options that they take. Some of it in Bitcoin, some of it in Bitcoin Cash, and some of it in fiat. And there's some concern that there's going to be a run on a bunch of people selling off all their Bitcoin once they get it. That's a lot of Bitcoin suddenly made available. But I can tell you that, like, a lot of the chatter that I'm seeing from people that I know who are creditors, some of the Reddit posts I'm seeing, a lot of people are planning on holding their Bitcoin. So it might not be quite the run that people are fearing is going to happen when the money starts flowing.
Interesting. Well, they were early adopters, believers in Bitcoin. Yeah. So if they're long-term hodlers, wouldn't surprise me. And they must be pretty happy with how the price has appreciated over the years. All right. We got to wrap it there, but thank you so much. That was our Coindesk Week in Review panel with Managing Editor of Technology, Christie Harkin, and Managing Editor of Markets, Keoun. All right. That's it for All About Bitcoin. I'm your host, Christie Lee. We'll do it all over again at 3 p.m. on Monday. Also join me Monday morning at 9 a.m. in New York for First Mover, your first look at the day's global crypto news headlines. Have a great weekend. You're watching Coindesk TV.